All right. Okay, well, and please go enjoy the tailgating. Wayne, please go enjoy the tailgating.
Thank you.
Got some good stuff down there. You guys have been working on it, so.
Bring me back a plate.
We're gonna be done. And as everybody concludes in department head, y'all can go on and excuse yourselves and go enjoy what's happening down there. So we'll go through our agenda here. Consideration of the minutes. Mr. Huskisson, have you looked at the minutes? The minutes are good?
Yes.
Do we have any issues with putting them on consent? Okay. I'll be making some comments. I know we've got some employee introductions, then I'll try to remember to announce the Veterans Day, because we will not be having garbage service on Veterans Day the 10th. That's the observed, so that'll be that Friday. Under Mayor's business, we've got a resolution. This is a sort of a pro forma deal. This is adopting the District 4 Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, which we adopted, I think, in 2020, and it's time for us to do it again. So if we could do consent for that one. Chief Yarborough was the previous representative and is willing to do so again. So we good with that one?
Consent.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think the B part of Mayor's business on that accepting portion of Highway 1, I don't think that ought to be in the consent agenda.
I wasn't going to even recommend it because you had voted otherwise.
Well, I just think it's worthy of discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we won't do that, but what I will say, included in your packet is the letter from MDOT giving it to us, and so this is just our formal acceptance of it.
I'm sure they were very willing.
They seem to be pleased to provide it to us. So, all right. So under board business, we have shared cost of improvements to the tennis courts. If you recall, we have an agreement from quite a while ago with Starkville High School and Starkville Tennis Association. Tennis Association is no longer active, but it's time for those courts to be overlaid, and so there is a group who has come forward and said they want to raise the other sort of 1/3 of the money to help with this overlay of the tennis courts, improvements to the tennis courts, in the name of a young lady who died early in the year at the beginning of the fall semester, and they're going to raise funds to bring the tennis courts in her name. So this is part of us. And I also have talked with Burke. I pulled a contract, which actually is, I think, well, again, because the Starkville Tennis Association is no longer in existence, is now defunct. So I pulled that contract and I sent it. I'm going to send it to Burke. We're just removing Tennis Association from it and then agreeing to participate once. Well, no, I wasn't substituting because this is a one-time deal for them. But our contract with the Starkville High School or Starkville the school board. So we'll bring that forward the next time around. But this is to participate with them in those improvements.
And my understanding is that this, I'm speaking to our tennis player here, I understand that this makes those courts available to the general public almost always, unless there's a Starkville High School event or practice or a tournament going
Yes,
on.
that's
That was
correct.
the understanding, and the agreement actually expired a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But I think it's in the city's interest and the high schools, the cost share of that. I think it saves everybody some money. So.
Absolutely, and we're taking them down to one court, which would be at J.L. King, but that doesn't allow for tournaments. It doesn't allow for a lot of, more than one set of players at any given time. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to have a wonderful 9 courts redone and have tournaments both by the high school and by Parks and Rec, so that we can maximize the utilization of them and arrange for no one. I think access will absolutely be available to the public. So, and we'll just matter of coordinating like everything else. So, any issues with putting that one on consent?
Consent.
Okay. And then we have a need for an election commission, folks. So we've lost some of ours, and so I think there may be something we anticipate coming up at the first of the year. So we needed to go ahead and get folks in and trained. And so these are the applicants, Ms. Harden, that we had.
Yes, these are the applicants, and the 5 to appoint are based on, several came to my office and got copies of the election handbook and asked questions, studied, and then submitted. It may not have been a full-page letter of qualifications or a resume per se, but it was, a letter, an email of interest. And,
Okay. Well, we have accepted emails in the past reflective of an interest to serve in a position. So comfortable that these folks are dedicated and want to help us. Okay, all right. Any reason not to do consent for that one?
Consent.
All right,
And we
thank
do
you.
have other five, one Mr. Pearson passed away, and the other three of the five resigned.
Okay.
For complex. Ms. Rowan Williams was the remaining.
Okay, well, she'll be able to help you,
She's experienced.
yes, exactly. All right, good, all right, thank you. All right, so under airport, we have a number of, and Mr. Lincoln is here. I'm going to let you help us roll with this, Rodney, so that you can provide us, come get to the table and walk us through some of this, just to make sure that everybody understands, because I think these are important, so. First, we have a wetland credit and airspace analysis survey.
That's the MDOT grant, this is the matching funds to support that.
Okay, and what are they gonna do? Just basically, this is required in order for us to do,
For the runway extension area.
Okay.
That's for that area.
okay, for that area to the south?
90 foot wetlands down there.
Okay, and how long is that extension? What's another 1,000 feet?
1,000 feet.
Another 1,000 feet, so
Total
that'll,
runway is 65 feet.
okay, all right,
Construction of that will start next year.
okay, all right, good. And then number two, consent for that one,
Consent.
folks? Okay, all right, and number two?
Okay, Sunbelt Ceiling, this is going to be paid for majority, 90% out of our first bill grant, $295,000.
Mhm.
We got that grant for 5 years in a row. We can use it for any airport item that we choose.
Mhm.
And it's $295 with a 10% match, local match, which is divided in the county, city, and the sheet.
Okay.
10%.
Okay.
So this will be paid for out of that right there. And the other part is our corporate hangar that we're building for Garen, finishing up that hangar out of that bill grant too. So those two projects will see
Okay.
about
What
that.
what kind of life does sealing the asphalt cracks, cleaning and sealing the asphalt cracks give to us? Because at some point, we're going to be doing a total overlay when we do that 1,000-foot extension, right?
We've got some cracks you put your hand in now, and so there's talking 7 years.
Okay.
Because when you go in there and they clean it out, put a hot molten in there.
Yeah.
With a little crown on top, and then it keeps it, with the freezing so it messes with.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
With 7 years.
Consent for that one?
Consent.
All right. And then we have Clearwater Consultants for,
This is for the extension of the ramp for the new terminal building, if that project comes to fruition. We have an MDOT grant that will pay for this, the 202, well, they pay for all the 10%, 5% of it there. The 10,000 is what we'll have to come up divided with, but the grant is totally for this design project.
okay,
And so, that 10,000 will be divided from the city, county, and
okay, and that design is related to the terminal building? Okay, so, yes, ma'am.
We've already had some consulting fees related to the terminal building that aren't linked to a grant just yet. Will they be reimbursable under the grant that you hope to bring forward at some point?
that is 100%, that's right. Well, 90% from the county.
Okay, all right. Any issues with that?
So even
Consent for
though
that?
they've already been expended, that's not.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the update and the explanation. All right, all right. Community Development, Mr. Haviland?
Yes, this is the final plat for the Summit Development at Cardigan and Russell Street. This is just a continuation of the development process. They're going through site plan review, they've already done architect review.
Okay.
It's a plating of the project in 2 lots.
Okay, anything special about it that we, out of the ordinary?
It's pretty straightforward, it's been reviewed pretty thoroughly, received some variance and special exceptions, so everything's been checked off. So it's
Okay, all right.
straightforward.
Any problem with putting that one on
Consent.
consent? Okay. Engineering, advertising for construction bids. Mr., you want to? Okay, I'm sorry, Chris. Mr. Williams?
So the Spring Street, this is the existing TAP grant that we have. So this is for the intersection, and it's roughly 95-day construction window, $459,000 construction cost estimate on it.
Okay, so advertising, this is just the advertising
This is
piece.
permission to advertise. So
Okay.
we'll come back in front of the board once we get all the bids in for selecting the low bid.
Okay, all right.
That matches split the county industry and the city.
So the county is joining us in this one,
That's 20, unfortunately, 20% local and a split 3 ways.
split 3 ways. Okay, all right. Then I'm glad to see them back in with us on that. So
Consent.
consent for that one? All right, thank you. Request for qualifications for RFQ for engineering firms for professional services for what we just viewed. So consent for that one?
Consent.
Okay, thank you. And then, Cody, this one is related to just renewing professional service contracts with folks that we've already got agreements with.
Yeah, there'll be a few of these coming down the pipe. This is for light review of traffic impact studies, or if we need a survey done or testing done. We'll have some of these coming up over the next few months. This is so we can call the consultant and say, hey, we need a survey or a traffic impact study, and then go to the work.
Okay, and this is what we've done in the past, so that we're not doing anything differently.
And you have a budget line item for that, right?
We do, we have professional services, and sometimes these can be big ones, projects.
Okay, any issues with that? Consent, thank you. All right, claims docket we will skip, and then we have a full list of things I don't have to read because she's put them all on one agenda item. So this is a list of surplus property that we can sell for, to the highest bidder for scrap. So,
If anybody will buy.
If anybody will buy it, that's right. Consent for that?
Consent.
All right, thank you.
We all see the list, the computer list came from Joel's group mostly, some of those.
Electronics.
Electronics.
Yeah.
All from the computers from 1997, so.
Long since. Well, it's nice to be cleaning it out. Good. Yep. I commend them for getting that all done, so.
Off the asset list.
97.
I believe, I saw the chief downstairs by the cooker, so that may be where he stayed. In this case, this is the grant that we get annually. I think it used to be 40,000 or so, and now it's dropped down some, but this is the EMSOF grant. So, consent for that one?
Consent.
Okay. HR, we have hello, Mr. Ashford. All of these are existing positions that are vacant, need to be filled.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and they're budgeted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so, thank you. A part-time aircraft lineman and a police officer, and then we have an apprentice lineman, 6. I didn't even know we had a 6, so, yes, in utilities. So consent for those? All right, thank you. And then parks, we have low quote. This is for the pickleball court fencing project, which, as you know, we approved the overlay of the pickleball courts, and now we need to fence them in so that the does the pickleball have a name, or is it just a pickle? It's like a tennis ball, it's a pickleball? It doesn't have
It's like a wiffle ball.
wiffle ball, okay.
Well, they call it
Call it a pickleball?
pickleball.
Okay, all right, just checking. I didn't know if it might have a special designation.
I let him put those.
Let's put that on consent, shall we? Anyway, is everyone good with consent on that? All right, thank you. All right, and then code enforcement. We have, and these are all just consideration for calling for a public hearing.
Right.
So these would be out on Ruth Road. If you haven't been out there in a while, this is out in the annex territory, so we are working our way into that area to try to help make a difference out there. So can we put those on consent? Okay. And then sanitation department, we have gotten our report back from our bags for our garbage bags for distribution, and we're getting 4,000 rolls. And Mr. Smiley, you believe that will be good for you for a while? Okay, all right, sounds good. And they came in at $15.69, is that right? 64 cents.
What do we know, how many do we normally buy?
It has varied.
It varies a lot.
We have bought as many as 11,000 and
As few as a
and
couple
as few
thousand.
as a couple of thousand.
Mr. Smiley, what we used last year, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can get that number for you.
No, ma'am, approximately this.
I know we purchased 5,000 2 years ago, and they had some leftovers, so this past year, he was able to, we didn't buy it, and we got the black one for it. So he's,
Over the years, we have purchased 15,000, 12,000, 13,000, but over the last couple of years, we went through a different procedure and process where we're keeping up and tracking. So we're seeing the involvement from the citizens. It's just not as much interest as it was in the past. So we've been able to reduce the number that we currently need.
So in other words, we're more citizens buying private, but they're buying their private, or buying their own bags and using their own bags, and that's reducing the number of bags that we need for the, I mean, it's gotta be something. We're dropping to 4,000 bags.
People like our family, we use kitchen bags. We don't use those big black bags for weekly trash. We use them occasionally, and so we may pick up a roll every 3 years. So there's been behavioral changes, you're right, that
And
allows that.
also in the
number.
past, we was using a system where we wasn't truly being accountable for them. We were just taking them and putting them out. And
Whoever
some
just
people-
gonna
yeah,
pick 'em up.
So now we seeing who truly wants them and needs them.
What is our policy as far as time and time frame and for someone to, somebody can, I know they'll show proof
They can-
of their,
Once a year, they bring their utility bill and show that they're still,
Paying
paying sanitation fees.
but we used to have a real tight constraint on time.
We don't anymore. Now it's
You
just
just come get it
once a
anytime
year.
you
Yeah,
get-
if
you
you
get
haven't
one
gotten it,
over.
if you haven't gotten it a year, you can come get it anytime.
Good, thanks.
So, okay.
Consent.
Consent for that one, all right, thank you. And then we are going to finance with the small truck, the rear loading, 8-yard, is it 8-yard? It's not an 8-year refuse truck, it's an 8-yard refuse truck. Can we fix that, please, ma'am? All right, thank you.
Consent.
It's
All
probably
right.
an 8-year.
It will, maybe, well, hopefully it'll last longer than that, all right. Those will be used in the smaller areas, Cotton District, several areas like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Cedar
thank you.
Creek.
Cedar Creek, some of the tighter quarters.
Yeah. Consent.
All right, thank you. And then utilities, Mr. Kemp.
Yes, ma'am.
I will wait and try to pronounce this at the board meeting on Tuesday night. But low quote for polymer for biosolids facility. Anything in particular about that we need to understand?
Necessary component for that process.
Okay.
So, 5,000 threshold.
Okay. Consent for that one?
Consent.
Okay. And then authorization to approve a low quote. This is the replacement of the catwalk, which we know from a safety factor has got to happen. So consent for, anything
Consent.
particular about that one? Okay.
Current one is
All right.
not safe.
Okay. Consent for that one? Okay. Low quote for fence sales for fencing at the new construction rehab. Is that just a,
This is adding some gates on Sand Road and separating the new construction rehab yard to separate it by different divisions for access control.
Okay.
This is going to kind of give us a little bit more control of that newer pipe yard that we're building.
okay, all right. Consent for that one?
Consent.
All right. And then low bid from Weaver Electric for optical ground wire phase. And that is to do what for
This
us?
is completing the fiber loop that's connecting all the substations.
Okay.
So this is the last piece of that. It's kind of on the east side. We'll also connect it to the city states station there, their primary feed. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow us better communication of all those stations, and also kind of be the backbone as we start trying to create a smart grid, smart switches, automation. It really opens up a lot of opportunities for us in the future, but communication is kind of the backbone that you need to make that work.
Okay, all right. Consent for
Consent.
that one? All right. Curiosity, how long is that leg, east leg?
I think it's 5,000 something feet.
About a mile? Okay, all right. And then a proposal from Garver to provide the contract services for aerator replacement. And that is working through our processes. We know we have aerator issues at the wastewater treatment plant, and so this is trying to get something that allows us to know what we're going to do to fix those issues, so, long-term. Oh,
Everything
absolutely.
moving along pretty good.
I'm sorry?
Everything moving along pretty good on it.
We're within compliance right now with our temporary stopgap methods, but obviously those are what we consider
They're temporary.
Yeah.
We need a permanent, long-term solution that's going to be reliable.
Consent.
Consent for that one. And then last but not least, approval of proposal from Neil Schaefer for services for Sand and Henderson Road CDBG project.
Oh, Lord, consent.
All right, and that takes us to the end of our agenda.
Sandra left.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Would you ask Mr. Williams, just bring us up to speed? I think every meeting, or not every, maybe every other meeting, work meeting, we should, just some kind of a update on 182. What, I know you're in communication, or somebody, y'all in communication with grantors. The highway now we've got the highway piece of it done, it's now City 3 and stuff, but kind of where we are with potential funding and or modifications to the bill. Where are we with the bill grant and 182 project?
Okay, Mr. Williams, you're going to be primary on that, if you would be so kind. We don't, from a funding standpoint, we don't know. For that addition,
What about extension of time?
For that-
We don't win on that either.
we don't have that.
The
For-
time, so what we're working out is, we've worked with them, so timeline right now is we're working on plans. We're actually getting some of them in today. November 10th, we'll have all the first blush on the drainage and then utilities. Driveways we're getting in today, so pretty much in the next week or so, we'll have the redesign. The first set of those will be in. Timeline, we're looking to have the plans done in January for that rebuild, or for the rebid, and bid in March. If we hit those timelines, the 2-year construction window, that'll hit inside the federal highways timeline.
Do we have any idea of when if there's any more money coming for the project when it's
That's what we don't know yet.
Does it just have to be re-engineered before we can apply for the?
So what we're doing is, how we got everything approved, so the additional monies that we approved in September to do the redesign, we're redesigning the whole corridor, and then if the appropriation does not hit, and then we'll do the $25 million number, which is what with ARPA, MCWI, and the build grant. And so pretty much the length of the project will have to shrink in to meet our budget.
But then we on budget then, we got the money to do that.
What we're gonna have to do is, so we've started those conversations, but that's when you're gonna have to take it to federal highways and to the state to say, this is what we can build with $25 million. This is what we've got to do to stay inside of our budget.
And you don't think an extension time will be unreasonably held withheld from us if we come to them with
the
that?
timeline, what we're doing right now, it all works out if it's on us to hit January and March as far as the bid side of it. So on that side, if it slipped past there, but we're supposed to hear about appropriation about this time at the end of the year is what they've told us.
Well, as y'all know stuff, but let's bring it.
Of course.
So pretty much, we're planning on if it hits. If it doesn't, we've kind of got the plan B and the plan C lined out. It's because of that time, because of the time crunch on it. So that's kind of where we're at.
Mr. Williams, thank you.
All right.
But what section will we start from? Are we gonna start, we're not gonna start at Long Street, or Roosevelt, or we gonna start, what we gonna start from?
Well, it depends on what we get to do. If we get to do it all, then I don't know what end you'd start at. You'd start on west side or east side?
So it depends on what we're talking about. So this is the approach that we're taking. So the water and the sewer and then the drainage. So the drainage has to be fixed, and it's got to be fixed from Jackson to the west. The sewer, the same idea. The sewer's in rough shape from Jackson to the west side of it. So those are your backbone projects that have to be fixed as far as that side of it goes. Then the vertical side of it has a little bit more flexibility as far as that goes on what we want to do. So really, how we're going about it is we're getting those cost estimates for the water sewer for those portions of it, and then figuring out how much money left for $25 million and how far it can get. And so, and we can have, that can shift some based off of that side of it. So
It's
kind of
water, sewer,
figuring out-
and drainage, and drainage.
But we've got your water and your drainage, or your sewer and your drainage, they're gravity systems. You can't just stop and say, oh, I'm stopping here. You gotta have that big complete system inside some of those areas.
So Ms. Williams, water, sewer, and then the, putting electrical systems under the highway, those are your main components. Now, in order of that, you gotta have water, sewer, you got to address that. And then we trying to see what we can get under those overhead stuff we get underground.
We have, so probably the next board meeting, because we've been trying to wait as long to see where these other fall, to see how much we have left for Outwell Gent to kind of design theirs, and their project will be able to, their design time's able to go a lot quicker with how they design an electrical system. So that will be, so pretty much what we're doing is triaging it to say, okay, I've got to fix the drainage, I got to fix the sewer, and what that number is what that number is here to there. Then figuring out what you can do on top of the road, and part of that's with the electrical as well. So maybe there's some portion of it that we take to federal highways and say, hey, we said we're going underground in here, we gotta go overhead because of budget constraints or that type of thing. So that's kind of one of those, just like with the overhead stuff, the electrical is a little bit easier to start and stop it. Like everything functions today on your electrical side, we've got redundancy on some pieces and parts. So if we have different areas, you'd be able to adjust that budget easier. So we're kind of holding that to the last piece.
Now, you talked about this, now that we own the street, that this could allow us to completely plow the street up to be able to do stuff,
Yes, sir.
which will get rid of jointed concrete, so we go back with overlay asphalt. And that'll be something, we'll have to overlay, but we won't be dealing with treating joints every 10, 12, 15
With
years.
the utilities out in it, there's there's not gonna be much left.
So you just were gonna do.
And we actually had a discussion with trying to save portions of it in the previous design. It was actually gonna be pushing, was it $1 million? So it was $1 million in saw cutting, and then, so pretty much, whenever you run all the numbers out, the pieces that we're gonna replace, you spend more money trying to save concrete that would be left than if you just replace.
I think in the interest, long-term interest of taxpayers and in costs and things like that, that if we can get this jointed concrete out of the way and get our overlay where it's stable, and where the only thing we'll be dealing with at some point in the future will be the surface, degradation rather than having to deal with that and joints and stuff, which is a mess that we will have done, our taxpayers have done good.
The area that you're gonna do utilities works in, there's not gonna be any of it left. And then, like I said, that savings, the $1 million, that pays for 2 overlays over the whole stretch of it.
That's
So
good.
that kind of tells you, taking over that road, saved it, not one little piece.
Bulldozer in about a week, you get rid of that joint concrete.
But we're definitely taking that into consideration, the long-term maintenance side of it.
Thanks, Mr. Williams.
All right, thank you. And the engineering has been doing a wonderful job. Both the utilities engineering folks and the engineering department for the city has been doing a wonderful job on pulling all this together,
And we've
so
had-
thank you.
We have a standing weekly call on that project to make sure that it keeps moving. So every Tuesday, we're trying to know that time is the essence, where everybody on the engineering side is pushing on it.
Thank you. Mayor, one other thing, and I'm through, and we go eat barbecue. For Mr. Kemp, just because we get the updates all the time on closures, things like that. Just kind of status on the downtown water sewer project, where we are, how percentage complete, what you think from here to?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, because I think it's been a great project this far, success from a.
Yeah, we've done a good job
standpoint, and,
managing
things have gone really smoothly. Obviously, there's things that have come up that we didn't encounter, but we have a great team that's working on that. Mr. Williams, better half, as I like to call her all the time, is helping manage that project with Mary Williams, along with our inspector, Zach McCormick, is out there every day looking at it. But to your question about duration, where we are, as you may know, we finished Washington Street laying that line this week. We've made time to turn the corner, and now on West Lampkin, I'm sorry. We are finished with East Lampkin. We're finished with Jackson for the most part. We are finished with the alley behind police department. We're finished with the parking lot there on Lampkin Street. What remains is some testing, some tie-ins, and I actually visited with Mr. Burnett this morning about sequence of coming back with asphalt, what's ready right now, what's ready in the immediate future. I think he's got a good game plan of coordination of that with the contractor to try to get as much of that paved before the winter sets in. But I would say we're on schedule right now, still projected to finish by February of next year. And the majority of the water line installation will be completed by December the 10th. That should be all the work on West Lampkin. And then what we'll do is start working on our testing. And we still lack a little bit of sewer behind the Starkville Cafe in that point in line.
We're putting new valves in on top of these lines, right? We're gonna have we're gonna use existing valves to open and shut our water system if we have to, or we put in this.
Everything's new.
I was gonna say, for this kind of money, we ought to have everything. What about fire plug?
Everything's new.
Fire plug, yeah. Good.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you, everyone. We have a tailgate party to go to, so we appreciate your attendance. Everybody have a great weekend, and it's a home game weekend, so homecoming.